Hello, I'm Brent Height, and I'm in Parkin, Arkansas. I'm at Parkin Archeological State Park, and there was lots of history that took place here. So stay with me as we explore the mysteries of the ancient past. So this place had been on my bucket list for quite some time. It was only a 2-hour drive, and my drive took me through cotton fields, rice fields, soybean fields, and deep into the Mississippi River Delta until I reached the banks of the St. Francis River. So the site does sit on the banks of the St. Francis River, near where the Tyronza River runs into the St. Francis. I rolled into the visitor center on a Thursday and discovered that I had the place pretty much to myself. So I just arrived at Parkin Archaeological State Park. It's near Memphis. I'm grabbing my gear out of my truck and I'm gonna go into the visitor center, see what they have on display in here. As soon as I got stopped, I pulled up a LiDAR image so I could see the layout of the complex. And as you can see, the site is rectangular and it has a moat that surrounds it. On the north end of the moat, there's a deep channel that allows water to enter in from the St. Francis River and fill the moat. As I walked toward the visitor center's entrance, I noticed that everything was well manicured and taken care of. Inside, it was nice and cool and clean also. Everything seemed to be in order. So we have Spanish written records from 1541 that tells us that when the explorers came through, that they encountered these people and the chief's name was Koski. So they call this the Koski tribe. So there's a video room where they tell the history of this site. And part of the history is when Hernando de Soto and his conquistadors came through and they had interactions with one another. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that a little later in the video. And also inside the video room, there were many items on display. And some of these items you could actually pick up and hold in your hand and see what they were made of and see what their function was. And also in this room there was lots of artwork to illustrate the life of the Koski people, what their day-to-day chores were and what their customs were. And when you exit the video room, you come into the next room, which is full of artifacts that came from the site with signage to give you descriptions about what you are looking at. These pieces of wood are very significant. They have a story that goes along with them, which I'll explain a little bit more in detail when we get outside by the mound. It has to do with this picture right here. These head pots, as they are called, probably paid tribute to some of the ancestors of the Koski people, or may even Koski himself, which was the tribal leader. One of the significant things about these pots is they show you the way they wear their hair, the jewelry that they wear, and sometimes even markings on their face that were self-inflicted scars, maybe to make the warriors to look more fierce. There was also a lot of decorative pieces and jewelry found at the site, some belonging to the Spanish and some belonging to the Koski people. Many stone tools and projectile points have been recovered from the site, including a tool made of deer antler, which was used in flint knapping for the making of spearheads and arrowheads. There was lots of decorative pottery on display, and I noticed some of them were peculiar in that they had strange, sometimes serpentine-like looking heads on the end of the pots. The fact that there was artwork incorporated into these vessels tell you that these people were not under stress at this time. They had plenty of food and clothing, and they had leisure time, and they were able to express themselves through their artwork in these vessels. I also noticed a replica of a fish trap hanging from the ceiling, and this is one of their means of providing food for the tribe. When I go to these sites, I'm always on the lookout for copper artifacts. I have spotted them at Toltec, Cahokia, Poverty Point, Spiro, and other mounds throughout Illinois and Ohio as well. There's always signage that says that this copper ore originated in the Great Lakes area. This proves that there was a pre-Columbian copper trade not only in North America, but it spread to other continents as well. There's also a laboratory and artifact storage facility on site at Parkin. So from within the visitor center, there's a window that looks inside the laboratory. So this gives visitors to the site the opportunity to watch archaeologists as they work. Often artifacts are found in pieces, and this is the place where they piece them back together and put them on display. So now let's go outside and take a walk. I grabbed my backpack out of the truck and picked up a bottle of water while I was in the visitor center. And now I'm making my way out to the mound. Now this whole complex is on a raised platform, and there's a moat that goes around this whole place. And you can see this is not a small place. I'm going to say probably about 50 acres. And this whole complex is on this raised platform. It has a moat that is 85 feet wide and 7 feet deep. And they would fill it with water from the St. Francis River, which is right on the other side of the tree line there. So there was a city here that would probably have the wood post around it and the moat to keep unwanted people out. And I believe this is part of the moat right here. See the mound in the distance there. I think the mound is about 26 feet tall, and it's not a circular mound. It's a step, what they call step pyramid mound, and you can see it slopes down to the left. And they believe that they estimate that about 10 feet of the mound has eroded away. And this was a chiefdom, so the chief probably had his dwelling on top of the mound, although most mounds that are built in this manner are ceremonial in nature, or maybe that's where their religious center would be. So maybe the chief did not live up there, but that was just like what we would call a church building. It was a meeting place, and sometimes there was rituals that took place, even human sacrifice. These people had you'll find that you visit a lot of these sites and they had a lot of belief systems that were similar to each other. So the St. Francis River down below here.
probably muddier in this day and age than it was back when this place was occupied by Native Americans. So we're coming up on the mound site now. And earlier I mentioned, I called this a step pyramid. It's not like a ziggurat like you would see in Egypt, but it's more of a tiered type mound. It would usually they have 3 levels on them. I actually saw one like this in Florida a couple of months ago, but the very top would be the holiest of holies, I guess, if you were to consider this to something like Christianity. But the interesting fact about this is that when De Soto came here, he was pretty violent with most of the people that he encountered, but developed a friendship with these people. And one of the things that caused that friendship, I guess, is because this place was suffering from a major drought at the time that De Soto and his men came through. And so evidently these people had prayed to their god or done rituals and tried to make it rain, and they were suffering because it hadn't rained in quite a while. So they asked De Soto if he would pray to his god, which De Soto was Catholic, I guess, and Christian in nature, I guess was the nature of his religion. But anyway, they asked if he would pray to his god that it would rain. And so they did, and the very next day it rained. So the story goes. And in honor of De Soto's god allowing it to rain, because they prayed to the god, they allowed them to put up a monument to their god on top of this mountain. And just recently, in recent years, they found remnants of this cross that they erected on top of this hill. I'm going to show it to you now. Oh, there it is. So you can see there's a top level and there's kind of a mid level right in center camera there, and then there's a base level, and then this is part of the raised platform right out here. This is actually higher than ground level, and then there's a moat that surrounds it. So we're right on the bank of the St. Francis River here, and they designed this place in order to be out of the floodplain of the St. Francis River. So all this acreage that you see in front of you here, over to just beyond that tree line, was raised up artificially by bringing in dirt. And then on top of that, they built this mound, which it would take several hundred or maybe 1,000 dump trucks load of dirt to make this thing. So there's a lot of work that went into this. If these people in fact brought one basket load of dirt up here at a time, they say maybe 30 or 40 pounds of dirt in a basket, and then you stomp it down and then you go back and get another basket. How many people would you have to have hauling this dirt to do this? Or did they have other means that we don't know about? You know, some people theorize that this site dates back to about 1,000 years ago, or maybe 1,500. If the people that occupied this place when De Soto was here were the actual people that built this place, maybe these people occupied a place that was already here. So this place could have been here a couple of 1,000 years ago. But anyway, something motivated these people to do all this work to build this mound, but they may have also had beasts of burden. Some people think that mastodons and woolly mammoths were harnessed and rigged with various implements that could haul dirt or dig trenches. That's just a theory that I've heard. I have no way of testing that theory, but I will say this: like places like Poverty Point, they believe that place was built in as little as 90 days, and the amount of dirt that's incorporated into that site severely surpasses this site. So either they had 30 or 40,000 people working on the project, or they had some other means of gathering dirt and placing it other than what we know about.
So we really don't have any written records what happened to this place after the visit of Hernando de Soto. But a sawmill was built at this site in the 1900s by the Northern Ohio Lumber Company. A community of mill workers and their families built houses and lived next to the mill on the same land that the Mississippian Indian village once stood. This mill community was primarily African American and it became known as Sawdust Hill. The sawmill ran here until the 1940s. The Northern Ohio School, which was built around 1910 and is on the National Register of Historic Places, is also protected as part of the park. This wooden one-room schoolhouse was built for the children of the African American mill workers. After the mill closed, the school was privately owned and was almost lost to time, and after it was bought by the park, it was restored back to its 1940s condition and serves as a vital piece of history for the state park and the area. So since a community had been established here, they also needed a place to bury their dead, a cemetery, and we'll visit that place next.
Shortly we'll be coming up on the cemetery portion of this site, which was probably a burial place to Native Americans before European occupation. But then oftentimes you find that European cemeteries were often built on Native American sites. I guess they figured if it was a suitable place for them to bury their dead, meaning the Native Americans, then it would be a suitable place to bury the European. And you can see, okay, it's kind of level here. I don't know if the camera does it justice, but then you have these mounds out here, and these mounds have tombstones on them. We'll see some here in a minute. So there's probably Native American graves underneath the early American settler graves. We'll go out here and look at some of these tombstones, see what kind of dates we can get on them. Okay, so here's a tombstone. I can barely read this. It looks like 1918 is one of the dates. And there's several out here. There may be several water moccasins out here too, because we're right on the bank of the river, so I gotta watch what I'm doing. This one dates to 1920, which would be right for about the time that the sawmill was here in the community in the schoolhouse. I saw a video of this place. I see one of the tombstones that was pictured in another guy's video, and he thought it was odd. They're stump shaped. It looks like a tree trunk basically. What that is a Woodman of the World tombstone. You can see this guy was part of that society. See the logs on the base, the stacked logs. Then you have a wooden tree trunk. And this one goes from 1861 to 1913. Turner. I actually grew up near some Turners. It's probably about 60 miles from here. Let's go check out the other one, see what it says. This one's the same type stone. It's a little different. It's a little bolder than the other one. Has a little more girth to it. This one says 1875 to 1911, and it's Frederick. So this is roughly a 100-year-old cemetery, but we're on raised ground. All the way around us is lower, and there are little humps out here, which leads me to believe that these are the remnants of mound burials. And the common people would be buried in small mounds like this. A lot of these smaller mounds are just dwelling mounds, but not in this particular area. This is a raised area right by the river. You usually find dwelling mounds in larger quantities. But if it was somebody real important, there would be a pretty substantial sized mound, kind of paying reverence to the either deity or the tribal leader or what have you. Gotta pay attention to my steps here because, like I said, I'm in water moccasin country. This is the old schoolhouse. I don't think we can go in it, but I think, well, maybe we can. Let's try. Oh, the doors are locked. So I'm going to try to get you a view through the windows here. See what we can see. I see an American flag in the background. The books. There's the old wood stove. See if I can go around and get a better view. I really don't know what that number represents. I'm going to have to research that. I'm checking for snakes still. There's a lot of glare on the window. It's hard for me to see in.
So this concludes our tour of Parkin Archaeological State Park. If there's a site that you would like to see me tour, please leave the name of the site in the comment section below. Remember to like, subscribe, and click the bell notifications so you'll be notified the next time that I post a video. Remember to be safe, God bless, and we'll see you next time on Brown Hide Outdoors.